Good morning. Welcome to this morning's service. It's good to see all of you here. I hope you had an enjoyable Thanksgiving this weekend. Because of Thanksgiving, it's a kind of a long holiday weekend. We have our family service, a 10:10 family service, rather than the normal Dharma school 9:30 and adult English service at 10:10. But I'm glad to see all of you here joining us for this morning's service. We'll begin with the reading of Sambujo, followed by Sanbutsuge. So if you please join us in the reading of Sambujo and Sanbutsuge. If you please join now in the singing of the Gatha, Amida Shrine, on page 34 in the small service book. Okay, please rise. Each morning I awake to see Amida's face, so good and kind. I think he says, "Good morning, child." He's glad to start the day with me. sit before Amida's shrine with pretty flowers, candlelight, and incense curling round my head. I bow my head, I clasp my hands, and thank Buddha with all my might for teachings that will bring truth's light to many folks in many lands. If you would please join now in the reading of the three treasures on page 3 in the Dharma School Service book. And we're going to change again the word brotherhood to change to oneness, right? In the last verse where we read in unison, the last paragraph, the last verse, we say universal universal oneness. Hard is it to be born into human life? Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One? Now we hear it. If we do not deliver ourselves in the present life, no hope is there that we shall be freed from suffering and sorrow in the ocean of birth and death. Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of your way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves our supreme will. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord in your life of harmony, in a spirit of universal oneness, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages of myriads of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you. Please be seated. This morning, we have our speaker will be Dennis Akizuki, but he will be speaking from his home, and we'll see him virtually this morning. He'll join us virtually this morning, and he may explain to you why he is giving his Dharma talk this morning from his home. But at this time, let's listen carefully to Dennis Akizuki's Dharma message.
Thank you, Rinban. Good morning. Please join me in Gassho on reciting the Nembutsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. I hope everybody had a nice Thanksgiving, and thanks for joining us this holiday weekend. If you're there in the Hondo, which of course I'm not, or if you're watching via streaming on YouTube or later on a tape recording of the service, welcome. If you're newcomers, please introduce yourselves in the chat section of that you'll see to the lower right of the screen. Introduce yourselves, and if you have questions, you could write questions in there, and maybe we'll try to answer it. If you're there there live in the Hondo, of course, you can ask Rinban or Michael or Sumi any questions you have about Jodo Shinshu, our type of Buddhism. And as Rinban mentioned, of course, you can see I'm not in the temple today. I'm joining you via Zoom because for the time being, I can't drive to the temple. Earlier this month, I tore my right Achilles tendon while playing pickleball. If you're not familiar with pickleball, it's kind of like tennis, but with a court about a third of the size of a tennis court, has paddles, smaller paddles than a tennis racket, and it's played with a hard plastic ball that has holes, kind of like a wiffle ball, if you're familiar with a wiffle ball when you play baseball. Wiffle ball's smaller, though. It's fun, but there have been articles recently about how many pickleball injuries there have been, and I fall into that category. Now, if you're not familiar with what the Achilles tendon is, the Achilles tendon is the tendon that connects the calf muscle to the heel. You use it to move your foot. So with a full tear, which like what happened with me, you really can't walk. And if you're wondering why it's called an Achilles tendon, it's named after the great Greek hero of the Trojan War myth, Achilles. According to Greek mythology, when Achilles was a baby, his mother dipped him into the river Styx in the underworld to make him invulnerable. But because she held him by the heel, dipped him like this, that left him with a weak spot in the heel. And during the Trojan War, he was killed with a poisoned dart that hit him in the Achilles tendon. And the Achilles tendon has certainly been a weak spot for me. This is actually the second time I've torn my Achilles tendon, or a Achilles tendon. 28 years ago, I tore the left Achilles tendon while playing basketball. This time I tore the right Achilles tendon. So currently I'm at home recuperating from surgery about a week and a half ago to reattach the tendon to the heel. The injury caused me to kind of reflect on what's happened and what's to come in the weeks and months ahead. It's presented me with some real life lessons and kind of affirmation about things Shinran and other great Buddhist teachers wrote and talked about, and what you've heard discussed in many Dharma talks. The first is impermanence. Everything changes, right? Sometimes in an instant. One moment you're able to do everyday things in life. Get up, get in your car, drive places where you want to go, get up from the couch, go get something to eat, go take a shower. The next moment, boom, with an injury, you depend on others to give you rides somewhere. It takes great effort to get up from the couch, balance yourself on crutches to get something to eat. Taking a shower means wrapping the cast in a plastic wrap, then in a garbage bag to prevent it from getting wet. Then there's the challenge of getting up and down stairs. That can be kind of scary. So driving, walking, showering, everyday things that we all take for granted. Certainly things that I took for granted until I couldn't do them. So, as you've heard my Dharma talks, I look around the internet for things, material or inspiration as I write Dharma talks. And actually, I found this some time ago. It's something written by a young Shin Buddhist named Saya Abney. I think she's graduated from UC Berkeley now. But in an article she wrote about impermanence, in an article published by the UC Berkeley student newspaper, the Daily Californian, Saya said this, quote, "Impermanence is a fact of life, but Shakyamuni Buddha teaches us that it is one of the main sources of suffering in our worldly existence. Learning to live with impermanence and live through loss are two of the most important but difficult lessons any of us can ever learn." So what Saya's saying, I think, is it's not enough to intellectually understand impermanence is all-encompassing effect and role in our lives. We must learn to live with the changes that happen as they happen and the setbacks that change brings. So, that's just kind of a difficult lesson sometimes. But I think, bringing the lessons we hear in the Hondo into our everyday lives is something that is really important. As I sat on the floor of the Campbell Community Center right after the injury, some people remarked how calm I seemed to be. Part of it was that it was, of course, my second Achilles injury tear. I knew what it was. I was a little upset about the injury, especially when I realized that I would have to cancel a trip to New York City to see my granddaughter. But that frustration and soon gave way to acceptance. I realized at that point there was nothing I could do to change what happened. There was very little point in beating myself up with thoughts such as, I should have stretched more before starting to play. I shouldn't have tried so hard to reach the ball when I kind of reached in the tendon tore. Or maybe I shouldn't have taken up pickleball in the first place. The injury also highlighted interdependence. We like to think we're independent, but others are always supporting us, even if their support is not readily apparent. When I tore my left Achilles, I was able to drive, but this time with the injury to the right Achilles, I'm not driving. Now, actually driving with your left foot to accelerate and brake is not illegal, but it's something I'm not comfortable doing. So I can't go to the grocery store or to a restaurant to pick up a meal or to do anything else. Others are helping me. People drop off food. They check up on how I'm doing via text, email, or phone call. I depend on others to drive me to medical appointments. In fact, so far, 4 different people have been my driver over the last month, including, I think, one in the audience there. In the summer 2019 edition of the Buddhist publication Tricycle, Jeff Wilson, a religious studies professor and Shin Buddhist priest, wrote that interdependence, quote, means that nothing exists separate from all the other things in the universe. Every person lives only by relying on the support of others. Again, interdependence, quote, means that nothing exists separate from all the other things in the universe. Every person lives only by relying on the support of others. So again, that interdependence may not be so obvious when, we're healthy and we could do things on our own. But when you're incapacitated for some reason or can't do things as well as you normally do, we need people's help. But we should also remember that when we are more able-bodied, or when able to do things that we normally do, there are always people helping us. From the people who deliver mail, packages, and food, to those who help us when they come over to deliver packages and things like that. Those are, the people who directly help me are the people who have delivered food, come over to do the dishes, take out the trash, do the laundry. The other people who help indirectly are the people who prepare the food to be delivered. The farmers who grow the food that gets sent to that are delivered to the restaurant to be served to people in the restaurant or for takeout. And of course, then the truckers who are very important, who pick up the food from the farmers and deliver it to the grocery stores and to the restaurants. Realizing the crucial role of interdependence in our lives should also lead us to express gratitude for the people who help us and the other causes and conditions that influence our lives. For example, medical procedures have evolved since my first Achilles injury. In 1984, I wore a cast of varying sizes for 10 weeks, including a cast that went from my toes all the way to the upper thigh for about 3 or 4 weeks, as I recall. I didn't have any physical therapy. This time, the doctor says I may begin physical therapy by the end of the 3rd week after surgery, and could begin putting some weight on the right foot and even perhaps driving after a month. I'm very grateful for those kind of medical advances and leading to a more rapid recovery from the injury. I'm grateful for knowing a top orthopedic surgeon who did the surgery. Well, I know him because he's a cousin, actually. I'm grateful that the surgery went well. I'm grateful that after experiencing some pain the day after surgery, I've only had very, very minor discomfort since then. I'm grateful for all the people who have been my driver, others who have offered to help, those who have provided meals and moral support. I'm grateful for the Buddhist teachings that help us to understand impermanence, interdependence, and gratitude. On the Buddhist Churches of America website, there's a section about Shin Buddhism, including something that says that talks about the heart of Shin Buddhism. And I'll read from that. Read that section. It says, Shin Buddhism is a path of deep self-reflection and introspection through listening. Seeing the teachings in our everyday life, we are led to a life of gratitude and appreciation for all that sustains our life, nurtures our life, and enhances our life. Central to Shin Buddhism is the recitation of Namo Amida Butsu, which literally means I bow my head to the truth of enlightenment, wisdom, and compassion. The Shin Buddhist path is a life of listening, reciting, and coming to see Namo Amida Butsu as a deep and profound truth and not just a word or recitation. So you look at things that happen in your life, and you may not realize that the connection to Shin Buddhism, the things that we hear about in the Hondo. But I think kind of the challenge for us is to try to see the teachings in action in our everyday lives. Try to see the things that happen in our lives and understand them through the lens of Shin Buddhist teachings. That is kind of difficult, but I think if we start to do it, we start to do it more and more. And I think that'll give us more peace and understanding of how we should live our lives and how we should deal with things and setbacks that happen. And most importantly, I think we should then express our gratitude by reciting the Nembutsu. With that, I will ask you to please join me in Gassho in reciting the Nembutsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you very much, and I hope to be with you maybe next month. We'll see.
Thank you very much, Dennis. I appreciate we weren't certain whether he'll be able to do this. So I checked with him yesterday. About a week ago, we weren't sure what was going to happen, and he made the effort and joined us this morning from home. Thank you very much. Thank you. First thing, after I learned of his injury, I asked him how was he getting food, if he was getting Uber to deliver food, and he said, no, Grubhub. So I guess your choice of delivery, but that's primary, right? You got to be able to somehow get your sustenance and through that heal, start to get better. So important, the recognition of this kind of web of causes and conditions that support us, that allow us to continue our lives. And with a deep sense of gratitude and appreciation, we acknowledge and recognize that in our lives. Again, thank you very much, Dennis, for your message this morning. If you would please rise now and join in the Gatha Ondokusan on page 76 in the Dharma School Service Book. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you again for joining us this morning for the service. At this time, I'd like to ask, are there any announcements? Anything going on? Next week's service, on the 4th, will be we return to our regular scheduled programming. 9:30 service, 10:10 adult English service. The service will be followed by BWA's journal meeting in Bonenkai. But for us here, we'll be able to join in our regular services, Dharma school and adult English services. The following week, on the 11th, will be our Bodhi Day service, and that'll be again, we'll return once again to our family service schedule. So we'll go back to this schedule again on the 11th to celebrate Bodhi Day. Bodhi Day may be here in the Hondo. We'll kind of make that decision. No, we're not certain about the AV capabilities on that side, but we'll kind of figure it out. If we aren't able to put it together, then we'll have the Bodhi Day service here in the Hondo. So stay tuned. We'll make that decision in the next couple of weeks. Any other announcements? Anything else going on? If not, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us for this morning's service. Please have a nice, safe rest of the weekend. Thank you very much, everyone. As we conclude, will you please join in Kansho and Nembutsu? Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you, everybody. See you next week. Surprising. Good morning. Morning. Good morning. Hi, Joyce.
So, when we can use the candles, we have for decoration next week. You know how I asked you to bring it out.
Right.
So I don't need to check the batteries or anything. You can put it away.
So you're not going to use it?
We're not gonna use it because we found other kind of decorations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Then I don't have to haul it up.
That's great. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Hey, how are you? Good to see you. And Michelle.
Nice Thanksgiving. Did you have a nice
Yes.
Thanksgiving?
Nice, quiet, and relaxed.
That's kind of
Good morning. Thank you for coming this morning. Hello, sir.
How are you?
Okay.
Yeah.
Good morning.
So we have a
Chairperson.
I'm not sure who it was supposed to be.
Yeah, I should have called you up. Huh?
Yeah, shoot, I didn't even think about it.
Good morning.